What's good, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of Full Circle. I'm your host, as always, Harmon Jr. Please feel free to find me at Harmon Jr. across all your favorite social media websites. All right, people, we got another good one for you today as we're approaching episode 200. We're having big guests, bigger, badder, better, not better than them individually, just better shows in general. And leading up to that 200 episode, I decided to reach out to the one and only John Carson. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm a little bit tired. It's been a hectic week, but I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so happy to be talking to you. It's been so long, like we were saying before we were recording, but I always enjoyed my interactions with you at the old GI back when you were an intern there, and I was just a friend of the group, and man. I'm honored to be on the show this week.
Oh yeah, man. The old GI office that it doesn't exist anymore, right? Y'all are moving into like a new fancy office.
It's all in flux still, so I don't even know where we're moving yet. So.
Yes, but the last time we saw each other in person was literally a decade ago. We were doing the Extra Life event. I don't know if those videos still might be on YouTube of us gaming back in the olden day. I always make fun of people because I tell them, they're like, how long have you been in gaming? And I show them a screenshot from like Twitter back in 2012, and I'm like, this long. Like if I have a tweet from our Extra Life thing, and it looks like something just from like the Jurassic era.
I was my first and only E3s that I went to were 2009 and 2010, and I have pictures on my DSi, I think, nice. From that show, or my 3DS. Is one of the, it's the DSi, because the 3DS was at that second show that I went to on the floor. But yeah, I was that dork taking pictures of booths with my DSi.
You know, I don't know if you've seen this trend. It started at a Tyler the Creator concert about a month ago, but someone was recording his concert on a 3DS.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I was gonna say we need more 3D content. I think like everything that Nintendo did with the 3DS, bring it back in some way. Like make a 3D Switch, or something along those lines. Like a higher end version of it. Avatar's coming back in 3D. Bringing it back. Let's go.
You know what? That's the true secret right there. Nintendo keeps saying no Switch 2 because we're skipping 2 and going straight to Switch 3D.
Perfect.
That will be amazing.
That branding, I love it.
I do. But Carson, real quick though,
yeah.
For the people at home, just in case they don't know, who are you and what do you do currently?
Yeah. My name's John Carson. I am one of the associate editors at Game Informer. On the website side, I do work on the magazine as well sometimes. But I've been in and out of the video game industry for about 13 years or so. 14 years maybe, as like a freelance writer. Finally got my first full-time gig at Game Informer almost a year ago. So coming up on 12 months of doing this for realsies.
Man, congratulations. You know, I always tell people, I'm glad you understand, because people are always like, oh man, you're doing it. And it's like, I'm going to start using it. I wasn't doing it for realsies. And people are like, what do you mean? You know, they see you at like events and then like all these fancy videos. And you're like, you see me at those things. You see me doing things, but I'm not really there.
Yeah, I don't have an official title. People didn't think I was important before. And there was definitely... a good 7-8 years where I'm like, I'm just going to write an article here and there just to keep my portfolio going, just in case I get the chance to apply somewhere. And eventually enough time passed, and during the pandemic, we had nothing but time to sit at home, and I was thinking about games a lot, started a podcast with a friend, started writing a bit more, and some jobs opened up at Game Informer, and I was lucky enough to get a call from Andrew Reiner and get an interview with them. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the interview was like, come on. Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
It's me. It's me. No, like, honestly, my first interview was more so like a description of what the job was and where Game Informer was going. And then my second interview was like really just like drilling down, and like that was the one where I was grilled. And I feel like it's the opposite for most jobs. It's like the first interview, they really want to scout you
Yeah.
to see if you're cool. And then the second interview is more like the lay of the land. But yeah, I was really nervous after that second interview. Like really trying to figure out like, oh, what games are you into? Well, what was your favorite game last year? And I was like blanking on stuff. I don't know why. Like those are things that I probably should have known off the bat. But you get the nerves in those situations, and you just kind of have to fight through it and laugh at it.
Oh yeah, no, completely. I'm laughing because when I interviewed with Miller, shout out to Matt Miller. He's not on social media in any way, but shout out to him. He interviewed me for my internship, and then during the first interview, it went horrible. And when I mean horrible, like one of his first questions was, "What are some games you're looking forward to?" And I literally could not think of a single game. Like I didn't know what video games was after that question. I was like, "There's a Mario coming out, right?"
I like these movies. What do you? Will those work as answers? No, Miller was also in my second interview, and it was those kinds of questions where I'm just like, video games. Excuse me?
And it's so weird because if anyone asks you, hey, what are you looking forward to? Like on a random Tuesday, you can probably name like 5 games. You're like,
yeah,
oh yeah, man, I'm looking forward to, Mario Strikers and the next God of War. And, Pokemon Scarlet's coming out this year.
Oh, yeah.
And then, just naming stuff. But like in the interview, it's like, a new Xbox Chief Halo.
It's like you need the correct answer, and you're searching your brain for like, oh, what's that big game, or like that game that they're not expecting, and it just like fries everything.
Yeah, like what's that really niche game that shows you're a true gamer, capital G gamer.
Right.
Like my game now would be Klonoa. Because it was funny, when I was at Game Informer, my avatar was Klonoa, and everybody was like, what the hell's a Klonoa? And I'm like, greatest game of all time, especially part 2. And now they're finally getting remakes. I don't know if Capcom was listening to me, because I literally wrote an article at Game Informer about how great Klonoa was. So, and a decade later, we're getting it. So I like to think I ate it in there.
That's hilarious, because on Monday, I pitched an article where I'm like, I think we should tell people why they should be excited about this Klonoa collection. I am not shitting you. That is exactly what I pitched. Because I love that Wii remake, and that was my first experience with Klonoa, and I'm excited to see them do that with Klonoa 2 as well.
Do you know that Wii remake is apparently ultra rare and copies go for hundreds of dollars? I'm like, I didn't even know it was rare. I was just like,
I had it at one point, and I think I sold it because that's what happens when you don't have money and you need to buy some more games. But yeah, I'm excited to buy that new collection and play that all over again.
Oh yeah. So have you ever played part 2?
No.
It is. I like, people like to be like, Amy Hennon's so great, Legacy of Kain is so great. I'm like, no, Klonoa 2. That was my first introduction into epic game writing. Realistically, it's probably Metal Gear Solid, but I was a little too young to really understand what the hell was going on. Yeah. But like Klonoa 2 is that perfect balance of anyone can understand it, but it's like it's layers, like an onion.
Yeah.
Like sure.
I was stunned by Klonoa 1 and like how weirdly like dark it got near the end. Like I don't remember like all the details right now, because it's been 10, 15 years since I've played it, but I just remember being so taken aback by where that game went, and also the platforming is just spectacular.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I feel like Klonoa's not a hard game. It's not at all. Like it's easy breezy, lemon peasy. Yeah. But that's kind of part of its charm, because like it's challenging but not hard, and it's simple but still fun. It's simple, not boring. Yeah. And then the story's just god tier. So. Like you said, it goes places you would never expect. I'm just like, man, if y'all have like a spoiler cast, retrospective, virtual replay, let's play, let me know, and I will come and gush about Klonoa.
You will be the first one I will ask if we do that.
But people, we actually do have a show today. I know you're probably thinking, is this just the Odell and Carson Power Hour? No, we got a show. We're gonna be talking about, release dates. Do they matter in an era where Twitter exists, TikTok exists, information is updated by the second? I'm starting to think not. But before that, we're gonna be talking about Nintendo numbers. Yes, people, Nintendo released their fiscal financial report, whatever you want to call it, their money-making thing. And the numbers are surprising and not surprising all at the same time. But before all that, we're going to get into an interesting topic. Well, the news on this is that Gotham Knights is going to be next gen only, current gen. I don't know what the word next gen sounds weird because like it's here. But yeah, we're having this weird split. And yeah, we got a 13-minute video, and you're probably thinking, oh, that was cool. No, the news is it's only going to be next gen. They officially said no PS4, no Xbox One, none of that. And Carson, right out the gate, just what do you think about that? Good move, bad move?
Great move, actually.
Ooh,
I just wrote an opinion piece yesterday about why I think that's a great move for this game, and I think more developers need to start thinking about the new generation over the old generation. We have, I think the PlayStation 5 is somewhere at like 12 to 14 million consoles sold worldwide. The Xbox Series X is around there too. And those people paid a lot of money for new hardware. And currently we're not really getting the full benefits of that. And I know that there's obviously there's a lot of caveats here. There's the global pandemic that made everything super tough to develop for. Money was tight for a lot of people. There's a ton of people with old consoles, so there's a lot of money to be made there still. But I've been surprised by how few games are specifically made for like the PlayStation 5 or the Series X and utilizing those features like the SSD and the fast load times or the extremely fast loading of or like streaming of like assets and textures and all of that. More complex AI that the processor can calculate. There's a ton of stuff that we haven't seen from this generation yet, and I personally think it's time that more of the bigger games start to consider making that like their main platform.
Oh, I mean, ultimately, I agree. So it won't be fast fighting opinions this time around. But I feel like this is going to tie into what we're going to talk about later. But a lot of games, if you think about it, aren't coming out this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's be real, probably not coming out next year. It makes no sense. The timeline of when these games will actually physically be in our possession. It makes no sense for them to have been optimized for the previous generation. And I always think back to Cyberpunk. How much better would Cyberpunk been if it was just like, you can't play this on a PS3. You probably can't play this on a base PS4. Them's the breaks. Because I always tell people, I honestly think Cyberpunk 2077 is an amazing game. Yes, I'm aware of this problems. I'm aware out the gate. And I don't want to be like when it works. But when it works, when you're not facing the problem, the story's good. The story is real fun, actually. I feel like it's one of the few games where I feel my choices truly matter. I mean, it's like there's not like 1,000 branches passed, but I feel physical things change based off what I do, and that's all you really want, whether it does or doesn't. But because of that, we saw that would happen. Even with GTA Remastered, it's like maybe we can't split our resources. And I'm not saying the old gamers get left behind, but they will eventually catch up because let's be real, you can only play about 2 AAA games at once.
Yeah.
You play what you can. Like, I can't play Spider-Man 2. Is Spider-Man 2 PS5 exclusive, or is that going to be split?
I think so. I think they are. I believe that's PS5.
Oh, okay. So it's like, okay, maybe you can't play Spider-Man 2, but you can play Miles Morales, all the DLC if you haven't. Get ready for it. And you can do... There's, especially with Game Pass, there are plenty of games that will keep you occupied until you get to the new console. And this and this is what I feel like where gamers need to realize. One of the main complaints about having a next gen console when it comes out is there's not enough games. Oh, where are the games for? Where are these experiences? And that's one of the complaints, that we feel that we have it. We want to feel our money's worth. But guess what? You don't buy it. These games come out. So when you do eventually get it, there you go. There's no buffer period.
Right.
Me and you are waiting for these games to come. But if you can't get it, when you do get it, they'll be there. So right out the gate, you're full steam ahead.
Yeah, once supply catches up to demand, like there has to be games that people want to buy or like will want to buy the system for. Like what's the point of upgrading if you could play the same games on the PS4 as you can on the PS5?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not a developer. I can't speak to development. But, Gotham, I'll just quote WB what they said. We're trying to make the best game possible, so we're cutting last gen so we can focus on things we can do with this current gen that we couldn't do previously.
Yeah.
And, that's not that won't necessarily be true for every game, but I always think back to I played Control on PS5 when it was free on PlayStation Plus. Felt like a completely different game.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
From A to Z.
Yeah, it really like most. Since I got my new gen consoles, I haven't turned on my old consoles, and playing old games that I really liked, but like performance kind of sucked on the old machines, and like playing them on a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, like they run so much better there, and like the raw power that's there, and like seeing those improvements just on older games, whether it's in frame rate or increasing the resolution for the variable resolution games that like drop the resolution to keep the frame rate up, like having those better experiences on those consoles, but not having anything that's like directly optimized for that is a little bit frustrating. But I think we're starting to see the turn for a lot of studios now that like chip supply is starting to be like more freely available, to start making these machines a little bit more available so people can start buying these consoles.
All right. So if you could pick one current title that we know that's coming out, you could pick more if you wish.
Yeah.
That you would say one that we even if it's not confirmed, we've pretty much been told, at least as of now, that it's going to be on both gens. That you could be like, I want you to cut the umbilical cord, just be on next gen and be the best version you could be. What game would that be?
I'm looking at a list now. Oh boy, that's tough. I know you kind of gave me a little heads up on this question before. You know what? Actually, I mean, we haven't really seen anything of it yet, but it is coming to like last gen and new gen and Switch. And Sonic Frontiers, I want to see what Sega does with like all their all the shackles off, like go full Dreamcast again. Like let's see what Sonic looks like at its best, at its biggest. I think that'd be pretty cool, but there are going to be constraints to hold it to those other consoles, which. It's a family game. It's a kids game. It's an all ages game. I see the reasoning behind them keeping it on last gen, but man, I'd really like to see what Sonic would look like going all supersonic on that hardware.
Oh yeah, but that would be amazing. Just because you feel like Sonic is actually a perfect game. You think about on so many levels to be unshackled from constraints like motion blur, ray tracing, speed. Like you'd be like, okay, clearly now we have the processing power to do all those things, all those failed titles we're trying to do. Like somehow run super fast but not have like the game break down and still be able to like have I don't get it. Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 got it right. I'm not saying they're the best games ever, but they definitely got it right. People enjoyed it.
Yeah. And all the tech demos for like Unreal Engine 5 and all these next gen like game development engines are showing like these high-speed streaming solutions for like environments. So you see people just whipping across like miles of terrain, and they're like the hardware's not even struggling with it. It's very cool tech, and we haven't really seen much of it. We might with like Unspoken later, or sorry, Forspoken later this year. I think Unspoken's something wildly different. Or in the if people have a Series X or a PS5 right now, download that Matrix Awakens demo, and you can see everything that that Unreal 5 can do, and a bunch of ideas for what those consoles can handle that we haven't seen yet in games.
Yeah, I guess, man, I went real quick because I've said this before several times on the show, but I really feel like Forspoken will be a very so-so game. Dare I say bad, but it will be a tech demo of what next gen games should be doing. That's where I feel in my gut where it's gonna fall. Like it won't be like okay, bad's harsh. It won't be like phenomenal, but we'll all remember how like wow, the movement in this game was crazy. Going from place to place was crazy. The game itself, it was a game, but like I think it would be one of those titles. You know what I'm talking about? You ever had those titles where like you wouldn't say it's a good game, but it's just kind of fun to be in the world.
It'll be like the kill switch to Gears of War, but for movement, for moving forward.
See, and that's why you got hired at Game Informer. You so
exactly. I have a deep encyclopedic, useless knowledge of video games.
But yeah, I guess mine would be. I'm pretty sure the answer is no, but we haven't heard from this game in a long time, so maybe it's just would be God of War. I feel like Ragnarok. I feel like Ragnarok just. As much as they say it's going to be on the PS4, and clearly the demos are on like PS4 hardware, I just, especially if they don't plan on continuing the series, they've said several times like it's Ragnarok and they're done, so we're not getting the God of War Valhalla. I don't know what would come after that, but so I'm like, well, just optimize it and make it for the PS5. If we're not going to get like, okay, here's God of War Ragnarok, and then we'll have another one, and we all mentally know, well, that will be the PS5 one with all the amazing and oh my God. Because I feel like God of War, not Ragnarok.
Yeah.
They really did the whole thing with the whole, like, it's one fluid thing, there's no cutaways. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure they had to push the PS4 pretty hard to do all of that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if they, like, what would it look like pushing the PS5 pretty hard in the God of War world?
See, that's the thing, and there's a few different factors too. Like they would probably have to move to a different engine to really put things through their paces. Like I don't know. I would love to see a PS5 only God of War. Like it would be beautiful. Sony Santa Monica just makes gorgeous games, unbelievably detailed.
Yeah. Could you imagine seeing like the World Serpent, but like even on a bigger scale, and like his body isn't like like a stoic like just image in the background, but it's literally moving and doing stuff in the distance. Like
it comes down to you, and you see the reflection of Kratos in his eyes because it's all ray traced and stuff. Oh, that'd be so sick.
Oh man. Speaking of that, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like The Last of Us, the remake, remaster times 2. Yeah. It like I don't know what it could do to make me buy that game again. Because I'm like, I got the original, I got the remaster. I'm like, bro, like you would have to do some crazy next gen gymnastics to convince me to play through that game again.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the game's bad, but it's just like you're gonna ask me for $60 after my $120. Like
yeah,
no,
I've dropped cash on this already. Please just give me the upgrade. It's on my account.
Yeah, I mean, what could they do next gen wise to even justify that in your mind?
I don't know. I mean, it would. I mean, a lot of the next gen stuff to justify another full price purchase would have to be pretty structurally different. I mean, all they really can do is just like visual upgrades, right?
Yeah, because I'm like, I mean, gameplay wise, The Last of Us is pretty straightforward. It's a hallway shooter. I mean, that's what it is.
Unless it's a complete remake of some sort, like yeah, it would
somehow
have to be
open world and you can hide and
there's a whole other campaign where you're playing as a different character. A new multiplayer. Bring back that multiplayer.
I'm so
like that.
I love Sony's thing of like, look at all these games that we say are gonna have multiplayer, like Uncharted and Last of Us, and like it's one of those things where someone tells me, like, I remember Uncharted 4, someone was like, oh yeah, I love the multiplayer. I'm like, wait, when did it release? With who? Like, and they're like, yeah, I'm like, I always feel like those things are a myth. Like, people tell me they played it all the time. I'm like, did you?
I never touched either of those.
Yeah.
But I think if they ever made like an infamous multiplayer mode where you have like you pick what powers that you want or like what archetype that you want, and it's like some sort of a battle arena, make it a I guess make it a battle royale if you need to, but I think that'd be really neat to play around in that world with other people.
You know, Infamous remake PS5 exclusive. I would jump on that.
Get it?
Yeah.
I mean, Bluepoint is working on an original IP of some sort that I don't know if it's theirs or if it's just something that Sony owned. It could be anything.
Man, you know what? I'm gonna say something controversial. As long as it's not another Souls-like game, I'm just like, yeah, people, they're good. I get it. Elden Ring Game of the Year, woohoo! But I'm just like, no. I don't want my next gen to be featured with all these Souls like and or just Souls games.
It's there's a lot of them. There's a ton of them. I'm playing one right now, and that's after playing so much Elden Ring, I'm like, like this isn't really doing anything new.
It's like, you're hard. It gets hard. You beat. I still haven't beaten Elden Ring. I probably never will.
I haven't either. I'm like 80 hours in, and yeah, there's no end in sight.
I'm like 8, and I'm just like, I don't like this.
Oh, okay. So you're just like done.
Yeah, I'm more than 8. I'm probably like knocking on 20, but
you don't want to admit it.
Yeah, yeah. But so speaking of, there's a lot of them. Nintendo, they have sold a lot of things.
Hey, that's what they do. They print money.
They do. So, per the new financial report, the Switch is officially their 3rd best-selling console. Shout out to the Switch. It is only, the only things that sold more was the Game Boy and the DS, which the Game Boy is 118.69 million total sales, and the DS is sitting at a whopping 154 million. So I don't know what console they can make that's gonna overtake that, because the Wii, which we all know sold like hotcakes, was only at the end of the day 101 million.
I thought it was higher.
Yeah,
that's what I was surprised about by seeing the Switch like cresting above it.
Yeah, because like if someone told you Switch was 107 million, you're thinking like, oh, the Wii is at least 110 at the low end.
Yeah. But hey, those are extraordinary numbers for all of those consoles. Like, people kept on. Every time I hear about like people talking about Nintendo selling to another company, it's like, no, they've got boatloads of money. They know what they're doing. We'll talk about another Nintendo policy in a little bit when we get to one of the later topics, but they are in a perfectly fine place. They'll keep doing what they're doing and they'll keep making money. If they don't, they'll course correct at some point and then they'll make more money.
Yeah,
so it's the Nintendo way.
It is, and that's really the only real numbers talk about this topic, because the other thing is, it's the stories behind the numbers. Like, one, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe somehow sold 10 million units, and I'm just like, how?
In the last year? Yeah.
How?
It's
a great game. I really think Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is a 10 out of 10 game. I reviewed it, and I gave it a 10 out of 10 for a website. I really think the best kart racing, point blank, period. No other kart. Yeah, Crash Team Nitro Racing is great.
Yeah,
Crash Team Racing, it is great. But it's still second to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
It's
that's
so
where I stand.
Mario Kart 8 is neck and neck with Double Dash for me.
Really?
It's like 1A and 1B. I still prefer Double Dash just for my memories of playing that with my friends.
It has great music.
Up,
I'll give you that.
Oh, great music, great gameplay. Getting 2v2 kart races going is incredible, and I wish that there was some way of doing that again. But yeah, Mario Kart 8 what it has the highest attach rate for like any game on the Switch. Like if people buy a Switch, they're basically handed a copy of Mario Kart 8. Like, here you go. Here's your present. We are taking another $60 from you. But you're gonna love it. Trust us.
You know, we always give GTA 5 a lot of crap, but maybe it's
Yeah.
really Mario Kart 8 we should be looking
Mario Kart
at.
8? Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I guess unlike for if you know Nintendo should take GTA's 5 approach, they should just keep releasing different copies of Mario Kart 8 and see if people buy them. But they would have to release a new console for that. So I guess
they're kind of doing it already. Like, oh, hey, we have this new Switch Online expansion pack. We're gonna put some Animal Crossing DLC in there. You have that already, so you might as well buy this. If you have the online service already. And guess what? We're going to be adding 48 more tracks to Mario Kart 8 over the next year and a half.
That's such an insane number of tracks.
It's just the easiest. It was like the easiest subscription for me, my wife to just drop money on. It was here's $80 for the year. We get our Animal Crossing stuff. I get my N64 content and Genesis stuff and 48 tracks for Mario Kart. Hell yes. Hell yes, I'll throw that money down.
Real, that's where I was at. They first announced the expansion pack. I was like, I'm kind of done with Animal Crossing. Loved it for a year, but it ran its course. And then I was like, 64 games. I'll get that eventually. Don't need it now. And they're like 48 new tracks. I was like, buy,
yep.
buy.
Done. Done. Hey, guess what? When those Scarlet and Violet DLC packs come out and they're part of that subscription, you're gonna be thankful that you did.
Oh man, that's gonna be wild. Speaking of Scarlet and Violet, so the Pokemon numbers came out, and surprise to no one, they did extremely well. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl did 14.65 million. I mean, it's Pokemon, but the interesting thing here is Legends Arceus did 12.64, basically 2 million less, and this proved one thing. So a lot of people always said Pokemon sale numbers were padding because people buy both copies. No, they don't. Correction, I don't. Some people do, but I'm pretty sure out of those 14 million, I'll give maybe 2 million bought each copy. Most people have friends, and if not, most people have the internet nowadays. So there's a Pokemon Reddit that, hey, if you have no friends, go to the Pokemon subreddit. You will find people to trade and do everything with. I promise you.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, but Arceus did 12 million. So, okay, Arceus is a mainline game.
Yeah.
But I will say it is not a core game. That's the distinction I'm making.
It's the prototype for Scarlet and Violet. Like, they decided to sell that thing as its own standalone thing. I think the most impressive part about that number is, hey, that released in January. That is post holiday. Like, those numbers aren't like, if you look at Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, that had a whole holiday season of sales to go through, and it only sold about 2 million more. And Arceus was almost to that same level without that same holiday boost. Like, people aren't buying this as a gift for Christmas. They are buying it. Well, I mean, they could still be buying it for gifts, but for themselves too. Like, people were excited about this game, and it's making numbers.
Yeah, it came out late January, so it wasn't even like in that buffer period. We're talking like a couple of days from February.
Yeah, everyone was sweating about Horizon and Elden Ring at that point. It's like, oh man, do I have time to play through all of Pokemon? Which I unfortunately didn't. It's a game that I go back to whenever I can. But yeah, that whole time frame was nutty, and it's impressive that it sold that much.
Yeah, and I mean, personally, I consider it a spinoff. You can call it what you want. Yeah. But like you said, it did really impressive numbers, especially you consider that it sold more than Skyward Sword, which actually the numbers were kind of bad.
I mean, that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Skyward Sword has a bad taste in people's mouths from the Wii version, but yeah. I think people should give that game more of a chance.
Yeah, but it sold. Oh, it was like this: Mario Party sold more than Skyward Sword. That's what I find super.
Yeah.
Sold almost double.
Hey, people like Mario Party. Also, it was online, which helped a lot too. Getting people together when it's hard to get people together.
Yeah, and And fun fact, we finally got the official go ahead that Metroid 5, Metroid Dread is now the best-selling Metroid game ever. Yes, better than Super Metroid, better than Metroid Prime, which all you new Metroid fans, okay, I know you can't. But if you're a Dolphin user and you haven't played Metroid Prime, I don't know what you're doing. I do not support Dolphin. I do not recommend you use Dolphin. But if you do,
there's an option.
There's an
go buy a used Wii U and buy a Metroid Prime trilogy disc.
There you go. They're actually not that hard to come by, so believe it or not.
No, yeah, it should be fine. I mean, like you'll spend $200 for countless hours of incredible gameplay. Plus, start rating that eShop while you can. There's a lot of great stuff on there.
Yeah. So what I find interesting about this, I mean, the numbers were still low compared to the other series. It's at 2.9 according to the Nintendo report, which only edges out Metroid Prime by 60,000 units apparently. Which, you know, that's not the big unit. But I said it to tell people because people always are going on about Super Metroid. And I'm like, have you played Metroid Prime? And they're like, no. But Super Metroid, you can't be better. I'm like, well, by the numbers, Metroid Prime is better than Super Metroid. Just saying. The only game by the numbers better than Metroid Prime is Metroid Dread. But a lot of people haven't played Metroid Prime. So that makes me think that if Metroid Prime could still be that high, with like based off the zeitgeist of people who have never played that game. Just saying.
We need that collection ASAP.
Oh,
But before Prime 4 hits, whenever that is gonna be coming, we need that Prime collection.
Yeah, there's no way they don't release the Prime collection before Metroid Prime 4. I'm guessing that since it got delayed, that delayed the collection's release.
Yeah.
I would assume that's the only thing that makes sense in my mind.
Yeah, that has to be it. And Nintendo has a legacy of sitting on games that are done.
Yeah, completely. So, you know, with all these numbers, you know, Nintendo's doing fine. And, I mean, you can't talk about Nintendo now without talking about the obvious. But we actually have a bit of news, people, that makes this actually just not random babbling about where's our Switch 2. So Nintendo's came out in a story. It was revealed that they are very concerned about the successor of the Switch, saying they don't want a Wii U situation. Which I'm just like, I don't think there would be a Wii U situation. Unless you're really going to prototype whatever the next thing is. I just don't think... I think Nintendo's doing so well that they wouldn't just... And I'm like, okay. They say they're concerned, which means they're taking this very delicately, I assume. And wherever the next thing will be the greatest system since sliced bread. So I'm like, all right, Nintendo. We don't need the next greatest thing. Literally, we just need a 4K ray tracing Switch. Maybe not even a ray tracing. We just need the Switch 2. We need it to be like somewhere between PS4 and PS5 power-wise.
Yeah. Hit up NVIDIA, get that new Tegra processor in there, and bump up the power. Make sure that, like, I mean, really, what's special about the Switch? That in ways that it plays games, even if it's just like a set-top console box, and it doesn't have the portable mode anymore. All you really need are motion controls, right? And a compatible OS to run the games. And compatible, I guess, hardware as well. But definitely make it handheld again. Put that OLED screen in there. Do all the bells and whistles. Make a Switch 2. Make it high end. And I mean that's what I would want to see from what they do next. But yeah, they need to make sure that this generation is compatible with the next. I think it's too important of an issue now for gamers that they need to I think that's what they need to be cautious about.
Yeah, you know, I feel like they've already solved this problem multiple times. I look at like the GameCube with its like attachments for like the GBA and stuff, and I look at the DS. Like the DSi, you're talking about, I think is a beautiful machine. And the one thing I hated about the DS eventually when it became the 3DS, I don't know at what point it stopped was, but you could always play your Game Boy Advance games in there. You know, there was a slot, you could put them in there, you know, And I feel like whatever the Switch to, whatever it is, you just do that. You just make a card slot that could intake Switch games, and everyone's happy. And maybe if you want to go to a step further, not saying they do this, but whatever this docked, by your TV thing is, it's like maybe not every game, but most games could like be cast to your Switch or something like. Sure. It has the ability to be like, okay, it won't be at 4K. It will be downgraded visually, and you understand that why. And the Switch that we already own is still viable because I can take those games, put it on the Switch through whatever methods means, and then go, and then come. Or maybe the Switch can literally attach to the new thing. Like the new thing is a permanent, and like you can put your Switch in it, and
yeah.
Granted, I'm not there. Clearly, Nintendo, they're a lot smarter than us when it comes to game design because the numbers show it. But I just think this problem is not as hard as they may think.
Yeah. I feel like they get too ahead of themselves for like, we need to change the game every time. And every time they do, they make problems with making their previous titles accessible for people on the new hardware. And they really just need to account for that. I don't think that's going to be too hard with the Switch generation.
Yeah. So, I guess here's my thing. Based off the numbers, because here's a fun thing that a lot of people overlooked when it came to Pokemon Arceus is that Nintendo never labeled that game as an open world game. Never once. It was never used in any of the marketing. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is in the marketing being specifically called the open world game. Which, yeah, Pokemon, I love it. We're not going to, I can go in the weeds about Pokemon. But I'm just saying, if this game is everything we finally truly wanted, Arceus was a prototype, Sword and Shield was a prototype.
Yep.
I see this game doing ridiculous numbers. Like, something insane even for the IP.
Yeah. Especially with all these big, like the big Switch sales, and people are still really into Pokemon, even after, like, the Pokemon Go craze. And buying up Pokemon cards and all of that, the popularity of the series hasn't died down. Yeah, I think like you that Scarlet and Violet are they're gonna probably break some records for Switch Pokemon games at least.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll do something stupid like before the year is over, they'll already be like at 50 million units.
Jeez. Ugh. But I mean this might also be the test for how many Pokemon games can you release in a calendar year without people getting sick of it? Because that'll be a remake, a Legends Arceus, and then you have a full new generation at the same time. Are people willing to spend that much on Pokemon?
Let me put it like this.
Yeah,
I'm still rolling with my day one Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't buy the Animal Cross Edition one, which I was really close. Thank God they were hard to find. If they were a little bit easier, then maybe. Didn't get an OLED. My screen's getting a little scratched, but I don't play in handheld mode that much, so I can ignore it easily. They release a Pokemon Scarlet and/or Violet Switch. Oh yeah, that's it. Especially if if it's like let's just say it's the OLED model, but just I'm like, all right, cool, you got me. You got me, because people tell me the OLED and handheld is a considerable difference. So.
It is gorgeous.
Oh, man.
It is night and day. And really, if you're in a dark room and you have the brightness cranked, it turns night into day. It is
man.
So bright. It is vivid. The colors really pop on it. I love my OLED a whole lot.
All right, so yeah, Nintendo, make that OLED Scarlet, OLED Violet. I'll happily fork over the money finally. Yeah. And so we don't actually have a release date for it, but it's gonna be November because every core release has been in November for like the past 5-6 generations. Yeah. So that's no surprise there. But speaking of release dates, so before I say this, let me just say this: Starfield and Redfall, they got delayed. Yeah. Starfield, not surprised at all. Redfall, kind of am. That game seems like it's not a hero shooter. It's a multiplayer co-op. I don't know what the term are for these games nowadays, because they feel like they're always one thing and they end up being a battle royale no matter what they claim to be. But it's a co-op shooter, with the vampires. I didn't
Mhm.
see that one coming. That seemed pretty cut and dry. Like, hey, these mechanics exist across different genres that we've done 1,000 times.
Right. My only worry with that was like we haven't seen anything since it was announced last year. So,
Yeah, and
uh,
that was no gameplay in there, right? That was just a CGI trailer, right?
it's all CG and
Yeah.
really for uh uh God, what is the other
Oh,
Bethesda game?
Starfield.
Starfield. I kept on thinking of Starfall. I'm like, that's not it. I can't come out with that. Um, I mean, we haven't really seen any gameplay of that either. It's been like maybe a little bit of like an animation of a robot and some like screenshots. But like if it's like it was announced pretty early that it was supposed to be hitting 11/11 of this year.
I'm gonna put
And
on my tinfoil hat and just say Starfield is just a test of fabricated hype in the video game industry, and everyone's part of this litmus test that I refuse to be a part of. Because I keep telling people I don't care who's writing the story, I don't care who's
yeah,
directing it. I'm not getting hyped over a game where the only thing we have is a name.
yeah,
Like, I'm
it's
not sure we even have a premise of what the gameplay is at this point. Do we? I don't think we do, right?
it's something about you're going from planet to planet. You work for some conservatory. I don't know. Like
You're in
you're,
space. See, that's all we know.
you're in space. It's Fallouty. There's sci-fi elements. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like I'm not really excited about it until I actually see what that game is. Like the concept's cool, but I'm at that point in my life where I need to see something of substance.
No, because I get it. I get in legit internet arguments with people. I'm like, "What are you hyped about this game?" They're like, "So and so's that don't mean nothing. This isn't a like. I mean, it means something, but it's like a movie. It's like DiCaprio's in it, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh
And
yeah,
it's like,
yeah. It's
I
like
mean, he's a great actor, but doesn't mean the movie's gonna be great just because he's there.
right. You can like what they do, but you don't know the quality until it actually releases or until you see something from it.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and my thing is, we don't even have a trailer from Starfield. We
No.
have a collection of loose leaf teasers.
Yeah, and like developer conversations and stuff. Like put something in those besides like just talking about platitudes of what the game is.
Yeah, and I'm not dogging anybody here. I'm just telling people at home. Here's an example of why you don't get hyped over nothing. Anthem had trailers. Anthem had gameplay.
Yeah.
Anthem released, and it we all know what happened. And people were hyped about that with trailers, with gameplay, with something. So I'm like, no, no. But
It can happen to anyone,
yeah.
really. Like if it can happen to BioWare at like the peak of their popularity, it can happen to any developer.
Yeah, so like I can't get and it's a new IP, so it's not even like we're like, oh, OG Starfield was so great, we don't even have anything to latch onto. But the point of this is, one, Starfield got delayed. It didn't surprise me. I don't know who was surprised because a game got delayed where zero footage has been seen, and we're approaching this release day in a few months.
Yeah.
No, shocker.
Yeah.
But I say this to say because we actually talked about this on the show and people keep writing articles about it, and now I want to take this at a new angle. Should we just get rid of release dates? Should we just be like, yo, this game, we're working on it. When's it coming? I don't know. Just letting you know. And if it looks cool to you, go to Twitter. We'll update you as it comes out. And then, like, I almost feel like games should damn near be gold before you even get a release date at this point.
I completely agree. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately, especially with going back to what we were talking about with Nintendo. Like, they do sit on completed games for a bit. Like, Metroid Samus Returns, the 3DS like remake of Metroid 2 was completed for like a year before it was actually released. Before it was announced. And if you look at like Mortal Kombat 11, that was announced like 4 months before it was released. They had everything kind of like they were already on like their polishing phase for that game before all of their major assets started getting out for it, like release dates and trailers and all of that, and the hype machine was moving. And you see it this year with Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It was supposed to be released in September, but it seems like Splatoon might not have been ready in time, so they swapped those two games, and now it's coming out in July, I think, or June.
July.
July. So I really like the concept of like making sure a game's done, it's polished. You are reducing the feel bad of people buying a game on day one and having to download like this giant patch that may or may not fix all the issues that are in that build. Um, I really like the idea of finishing a game. I know not every studio could do it. They need the influx of money. But like finish the game and then release it when it's ready. Don't set a release date and then hope that you hit that target. Know that you're going to hit that target and then announce the release date.
Yeah, and I mean, I know it's a fine line to dance, but we have examples of, with Cyberpunk we talked about earlier. Well, if you try to rush it, then that's disastrous for you for that reason, giving out refunds, all these bad press, people don't want to buy the game. But then, you have other games where, like, at some point, like, I don't know, Skyrim 5, or I don't know, where people just like, who cares? Like your game will come out eventually, and people be like, oh, there it is. Neat.
Yep. And like having that long build up period, like eventually I just don't care to play it when it comes out. Like I feel like I've seen, or like it's been around the block a few times. I will probably play it to see what it is, but I'm not going to be like super hyped and like slapping down money, like windmill slamming it to be first in line to play it. It's I think we know about games a little bit too early. It's like you mentioned before, it's fine to know that games are coming, but like I don't think we need like the press cycle to start 2 years before it's released.
Yeah, because I mean, even if we don't hear about it for a while, like if someone's truly interested, they'll care. Like I'm still waiting on Beyond Good and Evil 2, which I know is 100% canceled by now. Ubisoft just doesn't want to admit it to us.
Yeah, it's now Skull and Bones.
It's big. But I look at things like Horizon. You don't want to delay yourself into competition that may interfere with your numbers. I'm not saying Elden Ring interfered with their sales. I ultimately don't know, but I mean it could certainly be a factor. I mean, you'll never know. You could be like, would I have sold more? Would I have done better?
Who knows?
Yeah,
who knows?
Because you had Legends Arceus, and it was like, oh, look at this smash hit that no one expected, and then you had Elden Ring, in which people were like, look at this automatic game of the year in the year now.
Yeah,
hit, and then
you saw the smoke cloud of where Saints Row was in that release season. Just like, get out. we're moving to August. We're not going to compete here.
Yeah, and I know with money and stuff, but I mean Starfield isn't coming from a small studio. It's not like So I look at something like Metroid Dread. I feel like a lot of Metroid Dread success was like, hey yo, this game is out in a month, and everyone's like, no, there's no way. Like, this is our first time hearing about it, and it's out in like tomorrow.
It's such a cool feeling, like, to not know about a game like in June, and it's like, hey, this is out in October, and it's the game that you've been wanting forever, and it's really happening, and it's basically done. You can pre-order it now. Good. Have the time of your life in 3 months.
Yeah. So I just, and I feel like at this point, it's almost comical, right? Release dates. Yeah. The bigger the game, or more important the game is, it's like, okay, there are something like Breath of the Wild being delayed isn't like super jarring, but it's like, oh, okay, because Nintendo's usually good with that type of thing.
Yeah.
And Breath of the Wild being delayed honestly just makes me think Switch 2 or whatever the hell is coming, just because
I think it needs it.
Yeah, and then the people are like, oh, look at the volumetric clouds. You can't do this on the Switch. I'm like, stop giving me hope. But, there are those games occasionally. But we all know Zelda's coming next year. Like, there's no way that we see the end of 2023 without Zelda.
No, it has to be next year. But, like, this year they have Pokemon, they have Splatoon. They have, like, so much Bayonetta 3. Like, there's so much padding this year for them that Zelda could take that hit. and just wait to make that money next year.
Yeah, but when we're talking about like our big, movie-esque budget production games, your God of Wars, your
Yeah.
Last of Us, your Starfield, your Forspoken, which should have been out like a year ago at this point or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
And these games, it's like I almost want to ask, why do y'all even bother? Like, if Rockstar came out now and was like GTA 6 holiday 2022, I'll just be like, all right, cool. I'll look for that next year. Like holiday next year is what that probably really means.
And show me the receipts. I want to see where in development you are.
Yeah. So,
please.
Is there some balance you think we can strike between like just being? I'm not saying that every game should be like when it's done, ha ha he he. Yeah. But like, I don't. What would be an alternative to release dates? Like the development goals. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really tough because I feel like a lot of announcing release dates now is to put things on the board for like fiscal year. Like it's all money related. It's getting things so like your board of directors is happy, your investors are happy, and then at a certain point during the year you could strategically reshuffle those to next year, to different points of the year. I think you would just probably, if you're not gonna set a release date, yeah, I think you would just have to be more transparent with the development process and where you're at, if you're hitting your goals or not. Not exactly like an early access situation, but a just better communication with your community.
Yeah, because like I said, way at the beginning of the show, we have Twitter, we have endless amounts of social media that's, instant.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't have to be like a PR fire. Like, you just be like, hey, guys, we're working on this game. Here's the whatever. It's cool. It's coming to a console near you. And, the people who are going to love it, if it's a new IP, to keep... I feel like there's a way to keep the interest without being like, hey, fall 2023. Like, you don't have to do that anymore, I feel like.
What you do is you be Team Cherry, and you're like, hey, our sequel to Hollow Knight's coming at some point. We're not going to talk about it for 2 years, but it'll be there, maybe. And then you just go silent, and that's just your line. It's happening. Things are progressing. Don't show anything. Like my one worry about, like, I guess with more transparency is if people see too much of the process of it being made, there's no secrets to be found when you actually play the thing, which would, for me, kind of ruin the experience of like experiencing that product.
Yeah. You know what? I as you said that, it made me realize something. I was like, you're right. So what they should do is, at least going forward, do not announce your project unless you have a full trailer to show, preferably with some gameplay. But but if at the very least have a trailer, because there's so many projects more and more, I feel like, that are just announced, and it's like if it's an established IP, yes, you can get away with a logo. Yeah, you can get away with a little just mystique because we have something to attach to. But if it's a new IP or something in a different, like, have something to, like, even if it's a CGI like Redfall, like, I mean, yeah, we would love gameplay, but we get it, I guess, more or less.
Yeah.
Because I'm at the point where, like, I'm just so jaded by so many games. For, like, even though Forspoken looks cool, I mean, when we first heard about that game, it was basically like next gen title. It wasn't even called Forspoken. Like, we didn't even know what it was, like Project something.
Project Athia. It was like the name of the world that you're in.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, because you know what I think about, to looking at so many RIP E3, so many E3 trailers during the press conference and stuff, and thinking about, one of my favorite things to do is to go back and look at old press conferences and look at how many games either A, did not happen, or B, was something completely different at the end of the day.
Yeah, what, Project Fist or Hammer or whatever? I think it was Project Hammer from the Wii. I don't think it ever came out. If you look like two years ago, was the Bethesda conference where they announced Elder Scrolls 6, and they're like, here's a logo, here's a shot of, is it Tamriel? Is that the land of Elder Scrolls? Um, yeah, do less of that so we have less vaporware. Um, it's not. It's getting to a point where it's like not fair for consumers because we're too smart. Like everyone's online. We could keep checking on the status of things. We know too much, and we will keep hounding you if your game's taking too long. Or I won't, but people will.
Yeah,
You.
us enlightened ones won't, but there will be people. There's also fun trailers to look at, like the first Breath of the Wild trailer. It's like, oh, okay, I see what was going here. I remember watching it for the first time. I was like, I don't know if this is cool or not. I don't really know what happened. Like I remember just thinking,
Yeah.
well, what now was we know is a guardian, like Link's fighting a guardian, and I'm like, he's not in a tunic. I remember that was that whole like, is this even Link? Like,
Oh yeah. There's a
yeah,
lot of speculation, and everyone's like, it's very Ghibli, and yeah, it's very cool and different. But everyone was very concerned that it wasn't a classic. It wasn't a classic Zelda. It wasn't that. Everyone has that dream of that GameCube demo of Link that looked like. I mean that was like adult and super detailed, and we've never gotten that. Well, I guess Twilight Princess was kind of that version, but
yeah, but this was like fluid. Like he threw the shield, and it was
yeah,
like ultra
it's
detailed
so
combat.
dope. It was so good. But yeah, like that showing of Breath of the Wild was very interesting, and I think really helped that game grow with like word of mouth. Like, hey, this is something different. We learned our lesson with Wind Waker. That game is amazing. Uh, let's wait and see what this game is, and
Yeah,
it paid off.
yeah. Before we wrap up, real quick, I just want to
Yeah,
make one last final. One of my this is my greatest trailer to final product discrepancy in all of gaming.
sure.
And this is after two Brotherhood, Assassin's Creed. Look at every Assassin's Creed trailer, and then look at the game, and it's like,
Yeah.
cause okay, my favorite is Unity, cause Unity, even with the game, looks amazing. It's like, look at this detailed 4-player co-op. Look at how intricate it is. All this trailer music. Everybody wants to rule the world, and then the
Yeah.
gameplay demo afterwards, and like people, and then like Unity comes out, and I'm like, bro, what is this pack of lies you have sold?
Yeah.
That demo was running on rails. I am convinced.
I mean, I hear that game is infinitely better now on new hardware. So check that out, like unpatched. It runs at like 60 frames per second, and it like textures and materials look awesome.
Yeah, but yeah. So every Assassin's Creed game, I love their trailers, and I'm just like, such a
Yeah,
lie.
yeah. We will wait until that comes out to pass judgment.
Yeah, but Carson, thank you for joining me, man. It's been
Well,
good seeing
it's
you again after 10 years. I think we even shared a mini stint at XBLA fans together, unbeknown. One day I was like, "Hey,
yes.
Carson is here."
That's yeah. That's exactly it, and that's where I was freelancing for a long time, and yeah, it's very good to see you. It's great to talk to you. We should do this again sometime soon.
I mean, I'm just saying again, if y'all have Klonoa stuff at Game Informer, I know
Oh,
for a fact no one at Game Informer has played Klonoa. I know that for a
I
fact.
brought it up, and like Reiner's like, I think people are hyped for Klonoa. I'm like, I'm hyped for Klonoa. Let me write this thing. I'll do. We don't know if people are hyped until we put it on the site. So, yeah, if we do some Klonoa content, I'll let you know.
Yeah, what is the saying for Game of Thrones? We're not a large house, but we're a very proud house.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
But so, where can the people keep up with you? See your work, everything you're doing nowadays.
Yeah. Well, you can follow me on Twitter at John_Carson. You could find most of my writing on GameInformer.com. I work for the online team, so my bylines go up just about every weekday. You can find me in the magazine as well if you get a subscription through either our website or through GameStop, which is our parent company. Myself and Marcus Stewart do a mostly weekly video game podcast called Video Gameography, where we deep dive into an entire series of games, game by game, and go over like the development history and the narrative for each one. And we have special guest each time for that as well. We are close to wrapping up our. We just did the entire Super Giant Games collection instead of doing like a series. We did that studio's 4 games, since they don't have any sequels to anything, which is a really great little series to listen to. So check that out. It's on all of your podcast apps. Yeah, I think that's about it.
All right. Well, again, I appreciate you joining me. And of course, people, you can find me at Older Harmon Jr. on all your favorite social media. You can find the show anywhere podcasts are found, and online at FC Podcast 23 on Twitter and Instagram. Have a great week, and as always, be blessed. Until next time, bye.